Oh, here we go. We got people coming in.
All right.
Here they come, Linda. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're flying in. See some names I recognize. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Positive Approach to Care. I'm your host. Linda is the hostess with the mostest, and I'm just the host, I guess. Welcome, everyone. Still seeing names come through. Boy, we got a lot of people signed up for this. All right.
Great.
10:59. We're still going to let some people come in. We do want to try to start at 11, so everybody knows, but we do have some good names on here too. We have some team members on here too, Linda. So there are team members that are looking to hear more about this as well. We also have the foundation is on here.
Great.
I see a foundation name on here. So they are learning about the program.
We're all learning all the time.
All right, people are still coming in. So we're going to try to start. It is 11 o'clock. We're just going to give it one more minute just so anybody that wanted to get in gets in on when they need to, so we can give everybody the rundown of how this thing works. All right, so welcome, everyone. Here comes everybody. And oh, there's a couple more. Good. Great. All right, I think we're going to start. It's 11 o'clock. Welcome, everyone. My name is James Kelly, and I am the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer for Brio Living Services. Welcome to the Positive Approach to Care presentation with my good friend, Linda Mammel. Linda Mammel is the Positive Approach to Care leader, program manager at Chelsea Retirement Community, so everybody will know who she is. We're going to do a couple of housekeeping items before we start here. Oh, a couple more people coming in. Yay! All right. The first one is, how do you communicate with us? On the bottom of your screen, you will see a question and answer box. If you type in any questions in there, we will be able to communicate. We will read your questions and we will then present them to Linda so she can answer them. We may not answer all of the questions as you put them in, depending on the time of when it would go in, or the timeliness of the question. But also, we are recording this. So you'll be able to share this with friends or whatever it may be. So everyone that has RSVP'd for this, we will then email you the recording later. Other than that, that is about it for the housekeeping items, I believe. All right, so I want to tell you a second here real quick. Many of you that are on here probably know Chelsea Retirement Community, and you probably know Porter Hills Village, but you may not know who Brio is. Brio used to be United Methodist Retirement Communities on the east side of the state, as you can see the state there, and Porter Hills on the west side of the state. We affiliated almost 4 years ago. March, I think, will be 4 years. And we created one organization. Well, the word United Methodist Retirement Communities in Porter Hills was very difficult to say all the time. So we created the name Brio. Brio is a synonym for life or vivacity. So used in a sentence, Linda lives her best Brio. So that is the parent company. We are the 4th largest not-for-profit organization in the state of Michigan. So that makes us pretty big. We have 24 business lines across the state, and we serve seniors from all walks of life, from affordable housing, all the way up to single family homes in a full continuing care retirement community. So without further ado, we have no questions so far. I'm going to hand it over to Linda.
Okay. Natalie, I'm going to ask if you could switch slides. There you go. And I want to first off welcome you and thank you for being here today. And you can certainly take a peek at my little bio there, but I have an interesting update, or an update I'm excited to share. I will be completing my master's degree in 5 weeks, along with a graduate certificate in aging studies. So when I say We are always learning. We are always learning. And I look at my position here at Chelsea Retirement Community as I learn something new every single day. So that's pretty much what I want to share, some of my experiences with you, some skills. Let me back up just a little bit. I have been with CRC for 5 years, or almost 5 years. I spent I spent a number of years over in independent living, and I absolutely loved my position over there. I have been over in assisted living now almost 2 years, and I have really found my purpose here. I feel very comfortable in my job, and I also enjoy what I'm doing. So I look at that as a win-win. In the training that I received, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get into TIPA Snow, but in my training, I actually learned hands-on skills and techniques. And what you have to remember about some of these skills and techniques basically is they'll work some of the time and some of the time they won't. It's all going to be dependent on the person that you're working with and what the situation is. I like to reference a little bit that it's really like getting a tool or a few tools that you can keep in your toolbox. And when a situation is happening, I'm hoping that you're like, oh, I remember hearing something about this, or, oh, I need to try a different approach. And that's what I'm hoping that you'll get from this. The other thing to remind you is in any of these circumstances, it's always best to stay calm, patient, reassuring. Let's go ahead and switch to the next slide, Natalie. Thank you. All right, so positive approach to care, we refer to it as PAC. It was founded by TIPA Snow, and she is one of our nation's leading dementia care experts. I'm called a specialist, and I don't know that it is my specialty. I would not refer to myself as an expert. I am still learning, learning every day. And this disease is ever changing. So I feel like we always have to stay on top of everything that's happening with it. The vision statement that they have for you here, basically the words that I want you to really grasp and remember is enhances life and relationships, because that's what I really feel that PAC skills can do for us. Our mission statement, what I like to point out, and it might be the educator in me, but is to develop the awareness, the knowledge, and how to use those skills. When we're talking today, depending on who I'm talking to, and I believe my audience today is a little bit of everyone. So I like to let you know when I refer to a resident, maybe that's for one of our team members here in assisted living. If I say a patient, that would maybe be someone in our skilled nursing facilities. And for those of you that are family members, I'm going to refer to them as your loved one. I am in all those cases referring to a person living with dementia. So let's go to the next slide, Natalie. All right, this is a quote from TIPA. Dementia is not a memory problem. It means brain failure and causes many changes in structural and chemical function. Dementia is really a thinking problem. It's something that interferes with you being able to do skills of your daily life. Memory losses that disrupt life patterns. You're forgetting recent information. You might be forgetting what you had for breakfast, but you can remember things from 20, 30 years ago. Asking and telling some of the same stories or information again. A couple more examples, time and place confusion. And when I say time, I'm not necessarily referring to, oh, it's 11 o'clock, but I'm thinking it's 12 o'clock. I'm really referring to resident gets up and gets dressed and is ready for breakfast, but it's really 1 o'clock in the morning. Having those types of time confusions. Another one would be dressing for the wrong season. It might be 90 degrees, a nice August day, and the resident here gets up in the morning, puts on long pants and a flannel shirt, goes ahead and grabs their jacket. that again, confusion of the seasons. Some simple tasks at home. You might plan on making a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and you've been doing this all of your life, and all of a sudden you don't have the steps are all missing. You don't have the cup to put the tea in or the hot water, and where is that cup? Those are some of the signs that you'll know this isn't just normal aging. Filling out paperwork can be very, very difficult, very challenging. Also, playing a game, something as simple as like Monopoly or even card games, becomes very, very hard. I'm going to have you go ahead and switch to the next slide. And what I like to do here is explain a little bit about visual data. And this to me was very impactful when I went to my training. I did spend 3 days with Teepa. She was there for the 3 days that we were training. And this woman has just a wealth of knowledge and information. So some of the things that she was telling, that I focused on, and it was definitely something that I want to bring out and share with others. But visual data, it's one of our most powerful senses to get input from. But as we age, we are losing that. And what I'd like to do is kind of a demonstration, but I will highly encourage you to participate with me, because I really feel that by doing this, it gives you a better understanding of where your loved one, your resident, your patient, what their visual changes are. So this is a visual demonstration. And like I said, we can't see you, but if you could go ahead and do it at home, I think it will be rewarding. So what I'd like you to do is take your arms out to your sides, directly out to your sides, and you're looking forward. And I want you to wiggle your fingers. If you can see your fingers wiggling, then you're probably around 25 years old, because you have good peripheral vision. Now go ahead and move your arms in about halfway and wiggle those fingers. If you can see those fingers wiggling, that's approximately a 75-year-old, and that's our peripheral vision. And you notice that's a big change. So the next one I want you to do is to take your hands and make like a scuba mask, and go ahead and cover your face like that. I want to make sure you have your thumbs down too underneath your eyes. And I want you to look from side to side and up and down, and notice you are very limited in what you can see at this point. This is early onset dementia. Okay, we have people in the community out in our area here in Chelsea, up in Grand Rapids, that are still driving with this limited vision field. Okay, that stop sign, looking to the side, looking up and down, it is very limited. Now, what I'd like you to do next is make binoculars, and go ahead and take those binoculars, and here we go. Looking up, looking down, side to side. Anybody notice any differences here? What you can see, what you can't see. This is a very large portion of our population here in assisted living. This is what they can see. So when we provide care, we really need to take all of that into consideration. If you're coming into a room and you're bringing in a tray for dinner, where are you placing it? There's just so many things to take into consideration with that limited vision field. So that's how we have to adjust our approach. Some other visual and spatial confusions. Sometimes a rug in front of a door will also be confusing to a resident or your loved one. It's almost like it's a hole, and they're afraid to go over that hole. One more that I want to share with you is monocular vision. So go ahead and take just one in one hand, and then I want you to blink your other eye closed, and go ahead and put a finger out in front. Again, look up and down. This is late stage memory dementia. So if you could take into account what you can and cannot see with that, this is very limited vision field. Okay, I hope by doing that, you get an understanding a little bit more of what our residents and your loved ones can and cannot see, because we're going to change our approach a little bit based on what their needs are. All right, Natalie, can you switch a slide for me there? All right, auditory data. So the very first sentence here says, what do we often do wrong? And I don't like to say we do things wrong. I mean, we do things wrong, but I like to think of it as, what can we do better? Where can we grow? How can we learn? So auditory data, one thing to keep in mind here too, and it's KISS, K-I-S-S-S. Keep it short, simple, and slow. I have to use this personally, even like today when I'm talking, I have little notes telling me to slow down because I do tend to talk fast. So keeping whatever your directions are short, simple, and slow. As care partners, we like to talk. Some people like to talk more than others. When we have someone that is suffering from brain change, memory issues, for us to walk in there and start giving off a whole bunch of directions, it is too confusing, and most often they just shut down. When I was in North Carolina for my training about 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to, we had a panel of 4 individuals, 4 people living with dementia, and we had the opportunity to ask them questions. And I have to say, it was quite amazing to ask someone these questions and get some answers from them. But it was also sad that we don't know enough. We have to learn more about this. So my example for when I was there was a gentleman in the room, in the panel, and we were able to ask him, and his response to a question, what can we do? What would you like to see us do? And his number one response was, I would really like it if you could just slow down and give me time. And it's not just in speaking, it's give them time to process. So someone that is suffering from memory loss, it's taking them 3 to 6 seconds to even process what you're saying. So I like to share an example, because when I heard this, I was like, oh my gosh, I do that wrong all the time. When I first came to assisted living, I had this goal of, I really want to get to know all these residents. I want to know everybody. I want them to know who I am. So I was like, okay, every morning I'm going to walk around to all of the neighborhoods and I'm just going to greet them and say good morning. We have 3 neighborhoods here at Chelsea in our memory care facility. And I start in the neighborhood, and this lovely little lady who I know very well now, but back then I did not. I go to them in the morning. They're all at the breakfast table, and I'm saying good morning to them, and I'm saying good morning to her, and I'm commenting about something that she had on her plate for breakfast, and I hope she liked it. Again, I'm doing all the talking, never giving her an option to say anything. I just assumed either she didn't hear me or she just didn't want to communicate with me. So I moved on to the next table. I come to find out she did want to converse. She's not very verbal, but she has a beautiful smile. And if I had given her a little bit more time and let her acknowledge hearing me, I would have had that connection. I missed that because I was too quick to move on. So what we really need to do is give them those 3 to 6 seconds to process information. Something we do here at Chelsea Retirement Community, we actually start training our newly hired staff, and it's literally part of their meet and greet orientation. And something that we talk about is all of our initial PAC skills, but we ask that any staff member, whether it be housekeeping, dining, our EVS maintenance, if you're entering a resident's room, you knock and you announce yourself, but you also have to wait. Give them a few minutes to process before you just walk in. This is their home. We work in their home, and we need to make sure we respect that. We tell all of our new hires, we tell all of our veteran staff to do that. We also want to make sure that you wait and let them give you that acknowledgement. And if somebody did not want you to enter or does not give that acknowledgement, you don't keep proceeding. You give them a little bit of time. Okay, Natalie, we can go on to the next one. Thank you. So we've learned a little bit about vision and we've learned a little bit about hearing with our memory care residents. I have these next two slides are kind of hard to talk about. They're hard for me to talk about. I think they're going to be a little hard for you to hear sometimes. This first one about make a note. When we talk visual and verbal, those are your first two steps. So you visually make some type of an approach. Then you do your verbal before you do any touching. You have to remember that our residents, their home or your loved one, it's their home, and you don't necessarily know where they are at a given time. So you have to be slow, reassuring, and give them that time that they need. We also want you to do with them and not to them. We're going to really go over that a little bit when I do some hand under hand with you. I'm going to have someone step in and we're going to do another demonstration for you. And then I think you'll really understand what I mean about do with and not to. So what makes this a challenging subject is I find I lie a lot more, and that's it's not something I'm used to. And when I say lie, I don't mean outright lie, but I do what's called, or I like to call, a loving lie. I had a resident, he's no longer with us, but he would wake up every morning and he would ask where his wife Helen is every single morning, even a couple times during the day. And depending on who was here, they might give him a different response. But to look at him and say that Helen had passed, she's no longer here with us, and then to watch him grieve that over and over, I would rather lie. So I look at it as a loving lie. I don't come right out and say to him, she's no longer with us. She's not here right now. Helen's not here right now. I know you love to go for walks. Would you like to go for a walk with me? And I can take him off the unit. I can walk him to the cafe, get him a ice cream, and walk him back. And I've totally eliminated something that could have been stressful for me for sure, but just so sad. And here we got ice cream, we got a walk out of it, and I'm able to redirect him back into his apartment. It's if I can do that, I'll do that. I've had another resident who is walking the halls and she's looking for her mom, doesn't know where her mom and dad are. They were supposed to pick her up. So I said, what's your mom's name? She tells me the name. I walk out of the unit. I'm gone for maybe, 3 minutes. And I come back and I say to her, I wasn't able to talk to your mom, but someone's going to be coming to pick you up shortly. And just to watch that relief happen, I can do that. I can lie that way. I can do a loving lie. Another suggestion, we do occasionally run into some aggressive behaviors. And basically, we'll explain why, but there are 10 unmet needs. And if we can address any of those, we can eliminate a lot of these behaviors. But if you have a resident that's very frustrated and having a very hard time, or your loved one, you're at home and they're getting very upset, to have 2 or 3 people in the room trying to help is too much. Really what you need to do is have everybody stand back and just have one person focus on them. I absolutely had this happen to me before, and I was like digging in my toolbox. What am I going to say? What do I need to do? And basically it's focus on that individual, quietly, calmly talk with them, keep reiterating, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help. This was a nonverbal resident that I was dealing with at that time. And you could tell he was absolutely just scared to death. And to have 3 and 4 people there trying to help is overstimulating, and it almost makes them feel kind of cornered. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. 4 truths about dementia. just lots of different things that we can learn. And like I said, we're always learning, but dementia means at least 2 parts of the brain are dying. It is chronic and it cannot be fixed. It is progressive and it will get worse. It is terminal. That is hard to hear. That's why I said this is a tough slide. Sometimes we get residents and family members, or residents that move in, and family members feel like they're here, they're going to get better. It's not that they're going to get better. I'm hoping that their life gets a little better with activities, with engagement, but the disease progression is not going to get better. I want you to think of, to put a couple things into perspective. A lot of our dementia care residents are living in the past, and not just 2 years or 5 years. They're living 10, 20, 30, 40 years in the past, okay? So you have to think, did we have TV back then? I'm sure we didn't have cable, but did they have TVs, phones? We all carry phones now. When I was growing up, we had one phone. It was hooked on the wall and it had a really long cord. So some of our residents in memory care, they might not have had a phone back then, and that's where they are now. Computers is a totally newer thing. My kids grew up with computers. I did not grow up with computers. I took typing in high school. Cameras, again, cameras, we have cameras on our phones. Back then, there was film you had to load into your camera. There was no credit cards. You paid cash for the majority of everything that you bought. So think about where they're living at this time. We have a resident here who has, in memory care, who has a cell phone. And it's so that he can speak with family members. And I totally understand that. Families from out of town. He can't use the phone. He can't plug the phone in. That becomes our responsibility. He misplaces the phone all the time. And the family gets upset that, oh, I can't find his phone. Well, we'll find it, but we'll find it in all kinds of random places, and they get upset with this. This is not something to be upset with. They are doing the best they can. When I get to a slide or two down here, I'm going to show you what the brain looks like. And when I say we're really doing the best that they can, it's enlightening to see that. All right, let's go ahead and have you switch slides there. So I want to talk about some of the changes that you might see. Word finding, they cannot come up with that word. They cannot process. They're very slow in responding to you. Substituting words. So if I have a watch on my hand, they can't say, oh, your watch, that time thing. They can't find the word they want to call that. It's very hard to follow a conversation. It's very difficult in noisy places. Can't retrace like time, go back in time to retrace. I use the example of we're in the room and I can't find my keys right now, but it was just me and you in the room and we've looked everywhere and I know I haven't left the room, so you must have stole my keys. And that's hard too, because you're here to help them. You're the family member or you're the care partner there to help them, and now they're accusing you of stealing from them. Appearance. I'll use the example of my grandma. My grandma would not have left the house without having her hair done and having her makeup on. So when you notice poor hygiene, they're dressing not the same, those are also some indicators. Behavior, another one too. We've had residents here that will all of a sudden start swearing, and we'll explain to the family members, well, this happened and this is what was said and so forth. And they're like, oh, my dad would never say that. And you're right, your dad would not have said that, but this is a different time. They're pulling from a different part of their brain. And sometimes that happens. We just have to be understanding about that. A lot of times your loved one or our resident's going to drop out of some groups, or if they had some hobbies that they were doing, they're no longer going to be doing those. Another indicator too is they're unable, you call them and they're unable to place the person with the voice. They know the voice, but they can't say who you are. They're not going to say, oh, hi, Linda. Instead, they'll say, oh, hi, sweetheart, because they're kind of covering that. I know I should know you, but I don't know how to address you. A couple other things to talk about with the brain. The language is on the left side and you tend to lose the left side. Rhythm is on the right side and we tend to retain most of the right side. So that's a reason why you might have a nonverbal person who can say the rosary or a nonverbal person who will sing a song. It's because it's pulling from a different part of the brain. Really, what the best thing that you can do if you notice these types of changes is go see your doctor, get an assessment done, and earlier. That way there's something to gauge. If we notice a decline and you're going into the doctor, you can get that tested again and let's see where we're at. All right, Natalie, if we can go to the next slide. So this is where I said this is a hard one. I want you to look at the normal brain and then look at the brain with Alzheimer's. It is literally a third of the size. So how can we expect someone to remember or to know when they've lost that much of their brain? We've had a resident here, or we have a resident here, and his family will periodically come and take him out either for doctor's appointments or just to go out for lunch. And the daughter will say, you know, he didn't know she was coming. And she'll get really upset and she'll be like, I told him just yesterday that I would be here today at 10:30 to get him. He is not going to remember that. And it's really kind of my little goal is to help educate families about this. When we talked about the 4 truths of dementia, it is not going to get better. So if we can start educating our family members a little more about what to expect, I think it'll make it better for everyone. So we did talk briefly about some aggressive behaviors, and I said I would follow back on some of the unmet needs. So we have 5 unmet physical needs. And when I gave you that example of the one resident that I needed to kind of talk down, the first thing that I asked was, are you thirsty? Can I get you something to drink? And it took about 20 minutes for me to get an answer from him. So hunger and thirst are some unmet needs. Being overly tired or being overly energized. Elimination, needing to use the bathroom or they have already used the bathroom. If they're hot or cold, or if they're in any pain. So if you have someone that has some type of an aggressive behavior or a behavior, become a little detective and try and start figuring out, well, what's wrong? What can I do to help them? Some unmet emotional needs are anger, sadness, loneliness, being scared or bored. And the best way to deal with any of these behaviors is to actually prevent it. And that is where training comes into play. Natalie, we can go ahead and switch slides. So some basics for success. There we go. Really, you want to be a little detective. Don't judge them, be a detective. Look, listen, offer things, think about what's happening in their environment. Use that approach to kind of gauge what might be going on. We had talked a little bit about using cues and sequences. Number 1 should always be visual. Number 2 is verbal. And then number 3 would be touch. So my example here would be if I had spilled some food on the front of my shirt. Remember, we have a limited vision field here. Even looking down, I'm not going to be able to see that. So I'm going to point to my own shirt and say, hey, on your shirt right here, point on the shirt and then speak. You spilled some of your dinner. Let's go get you cleaned up. And that's where we can go help physically touch after we've kind of given them some cues as to what might have happened. Obviously, always respecting their reality. they see something, maybe you're not seeing it. We do have residents that have hallucinations. When I say be a detective, you really do. You need to look, are the blinds up? Are the blinds down? Is there a light shining in their room? Do they have something that's casting a shadow and they feel like somebody's in the room, but there's really not someone there? That's what I say. You really have to take that time to look at the whole scenario, be your little detective and figure out what you can do to help them, because I know there's something you can do. Some other things to remember is to always talk to the person. Don't talk over them. Don't talk to somebody else about them. Talk to them and give them those 3 to 6 seconds to process and hopefully acknowledge what you're saying. Some of the important things here to remember too is communication, and not just communication between your resident or your loved one and you, but for instance here, communication between staff and leadership. We have a gentleman in one of our neighborhoods that every time the fire alarm would go off, he would have a meltdown. And is it the loud noise? You know, we're not sure. Well, we found out. He actually had lost both his mother and his sister in a house fire when he was, I believe, 8 years old. So we have changed the way, not that we do fire alarms, but we make sure that we have someone with him. We can get him to a quiet space if we have to. It's that communication has to happen or we don't know how to help. That's part of the whole building close relationships where you can trust each other between our residents, your loved ones, and you. And then another big one is meaningful activities. Everyone wants to have a purpose. And just yesterday, I saw one of our residents. We have a courtyard on the interior of their neighborhood, and he was outside in the courtyard raking. And it's a purposeful, the leaves were falling before the snow we had. It was just gave him a lot of purpose to do that. Obviously, that's something he enjoyed. That was something he had done before in his own home, and we were able to make that happen for him. So the next slide, Natalie, we have approach matters, and this is using consistent, positive physical approach. And when we had talked a little bit earlier about knocking on the door, this is their home. This is kind of where this comes into play again. You want to pause outside. So like you're going to the room, you knock on the door, you're announcing yourself there. You might even say, "Hi, it's Linda," and wait at least 3 to 6 seconds until you get some kind of an acknowledgement. If they see you and they turn to you and give eye contact, or they might say, "Hi, Linda," that would be my opportunity to walk in a little bit closer. At this point too, we like to say we keep about 6 feet distance. Most people, if you put your hand out to them, they will grab your hand. If I was to put my hand out to a resident and they did not grab my hand, I would just stand right where I am and I would again converse with them, talk with them. If I could make that next step at some point, I would. If I can't, I'm just going to stay right there and respect that space. What I want to do at this point is kind of introduce you to Melissa. I'm going to switch seats with her for a second, and I want to kind of show you the hand under hand skill. I want to also say too that Melissa is, let's switch here. Melissa is one of our caregiver retention specialists, and her role here at CRC is not only to train all of our new hires, but she is also working on the floor with all of our caregivers and coaches. She's a PAC certified coach. So if she's on the floor, if an RCA, resident care advisor, has an issue that they're not sure how to deal with, they would reach out to Melissa. She's one of 2 that we have in our building. If they're doing a skill that they learned in training, but they've never done it for real and they want to have someone with them, again, that is something that Melissa can do. I'm going to push the computer back just a little bit. And when I said hand under hand skill, so if I put my hand out to Melissa and she does put her hand out, I get that handshake. Immediately from that handshake, I like to grab, I wrap around the whole thumb. So that's hand under hand. And then I tend to just hold on to that hand and I'll talk to the resident for a little bit. Okay. What's really nice about this is if we don't rush it, we can build that really good, trusting relationship. We can have some good engagement with them. And this particular skill, this hand under hand skill, can be used in so many, it can be used for anything, to be honest with you. I'm going to go ahead and have you change to the next slide. So what I want to actually show you here is one way that we can assist a loved one, let's say for having, helping with a meal. So I have entered the dining room. I've had Melissa acknowledge that I'm here. I've put my hand out to her and she has put her hand out to me. We are in a hand in hand right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and prepare to help feed her. So I have my hand right here. I can very easily kind of turn that a little bit, put the spoon right here. I put another hand, my left hand is going underneath. Thank you. It's going underneath her elbow. And today I'm holding a vanilla pudding for her. But a lot of times if it's a plate of food on the table for them, we can ask, you know, would you like me to get you the mashed potatoes now? Or nonverbal person, we can go ahead and grab a scoop. I can attempt to feed them. If they don't like mashed potatoes, what could they do at this point? Oh, she's pushing my hand away. Does that mean I get up and walk away right away? No. I'm going to say, okay, you want to try something different on the plate? So we go and we try something else, and I can bring that to her. This hand under hand skill can be used with helping a person eat. It can be used for helping brush teeth, brushing hair. If we're giving a shower, this is one way that we're doing it with them and not to them. One of our goals too with PAC, but also here at CRC, is showers are very difficult for a lot of our residents. And you really have to set it up. It's not just going in and saying, Melissa, it's time for a shower, come on. We actually have to, if you have a trusting relationship, we find that the better approach is to go in, talk with them for a few minutes, walk into the bathroom, start the shower, get that water so it's nice and warm, prep everything that you're going to need for that shower, get out your washcloths and your soap. Ask them, encourage them, you know, if we're doing an evening shower and they're going to get ready for bed, do you want to wear this nightgown tonight? If it's in the morning and we're preparing for the day, have them choose some of their clothing, go ahead and hold up different choices for them and have them acknowledge either by nodding, or you can just hold one up and see if you get a smile or not. It's just one way that you can incorporate doing with them and not to them. It also gives them a little bit more independence and it gives them those choices. Okay. You can go ahead and switch slides for me. The only thing I did not say about the previous slide is when you do hand under hand, you really want to be on the person's dominant side. So I'm here on Melissa's right side. If she was left-handed, I would want to try to do that on her left side so it is more comfortable for her. Thank you. So that hand under hand skill is, it's a game changer. And that's one of those tools that I say you can keep in your toolbox. It is great for getting that connection. It is great for helping guide. A lot of times when we start doing hand under hand, when we're helping someone with a meal, you could actually let go and let them do it themselves, and they'll remember to do that. Any fine motor skills. It's just, even if you're not doing anything and you're just sitting there and conversing with them, it's a nice way to hold that hand and have that connection. We find that so many of our residents that are here, you know, they're coming from home with their families, with their spouses, and they honestly miss that physical interaction. With that being said, when we do meet and greets, we're not telling our staff members to run over there and give them a giant hug. Not everybody's comfortable with that. But if you can hold a hand, or you can touch a shoulder or rub a shoulder a little bit if you see somebody that's upset or frustrated. They don't get that normally. So that's a little special that I like to say that we try to do. Some things you have to remember too. Yep, perfect slide. About being a care partner. It is, I mean, it's, from what I can see here, it's probably the toughest job we have here on campus. But at the same note, it can be very, very rewarding. You can feel like you are really making a difference in somebody's life. But you also have to take care of yourself. It is hard, and you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. It does help if you understand what the symptoms are, and if you understand that what the progression is. And we had talked about how it is going to get worse. It could be on a plateau for a while before you notice a decline, but currently it is going to get worse. If you can build any skills in communicating with your loved one, with your resident, that's going to only improve that interaction. Understanding what's happening with the brain. And I really feel like the photo we showed you earlier of the 75-year-old healthy brain and a brain with Alzheimer's is impactful, because it shows you, how can I expect that person to remember when this is what is happening to their brain? The other big one is to utilize local resources. And the Alzheimer's Association here in Michigan is amazing. There are so many programs. There are programs that pop up locally within communities. You just need to learn about them. One of the best ways to do that is to contact the Alzheimer's Association. They also have a hotline. So if you find you're at home one night and you're at wit's end, you don't know what to do, there's a hotline. You can dial that number and someone will talk to you. You will have a human being there on the other end that can talk to you and hopefully give you some answers. The big thing here is just to always remember to try to stay calm. If you get upset and you get angry, those characteristics are going to be relayed to the person you're working with. And it's not going to be a win situation. I like to tell a little story briefly. I think I've got enough time for it. And it's a hard one for me, but my grandmother passed away with dementia a little over 20 years ago, and she was at a facility in Saline. And my kids were all between the ages of 5 and 10. And I robbed my children of the opportunity to be with her, because I wanted them to remember her, how she was, how I remembered her. And that wasn't fair. And we cannot treat our older population that way. They are very special and they deserve to be treated quality. And that's what I hope that you learned today. And I hope that, the whole positive approach to care, I just want that to be the trigger, that you remember and you know that you can do this. And it's our residents, our loved ones. It's so important. I'd like to talk briefly. Can I still go, James?
You can.
Okay.
I just heard you wrapping up, so I'm hopping in.
Okay, I'm coming there. So some key takeaways. Our common goal is to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the person with dementia to the absolute best of our ability. People with dementia are influenced by their living space, by the people around them, and by the activities that we can keep them engaged in. No one can do this alone. No one. It takes a team. It takes a family. It takes the good communication. I like to give you a quick poem that is, again, powerful. And this is from someone living with dementia. My eyes do see, my ears do hear. I am still me, so let's be clear. My memory may fade, my walk may slow. I am me inside. Please don't let me go. So our last slide before we get to questions is basically, I just want to say that I appreciate BRIO's commitment to the PAC program. It is my passion to try to educate as many as we have here, family members, staff members, because it is absolutely worthwhile and we owe it to our older population to do so. If I can, the trainings that we do here, the educations that we do within the community, any kind of engagement we can do. CRC, we have photo cards that can stimulate conversations. We also have a brand new Tovertafel, which is a magic table, and that's absolutely amazing. That is a really big engagement piece too. I wish I had had something like that 20 years ago with my children and my grandmother. And questions? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Linda. That was extremely helpful. I know a lot about the program. When I first started at Brio 6 years ago, we had received a grant from, I don't even remember who the grant was from, but it was to enact the PAC program at Chelsea Retirement Community. And it paid for a specialist, much like your position there, Linda, and it paid for it for 2 years. And at the end of the grant, we felt as an organization that it was so important that it needed to continue. And so we kept that position on and we kept pushing for this program to continue. And it was a really big thing for us. At this time, if you have any questions, please type them in. I do see one here. It's from an anonymous person. Do you meet with families before they move their loved one to memory care if they have more questions about the program?
Absolutely. I have met with families ahead of time. That's where we talked about the whole communication piece. It's not that you have to divulge their entire life to us, but there are certain things I do feel we should know. And if we do know them ahead of time, we can try to make that whole transition so much easier.
Agreed. We have another one coming in here. How long has CRC been doing PAC training and how has it changed the team members working in memory care?
Okay, so we started in 2017. And I'll be honest here. I'm going to tell you some of our team members liked it and some of our team members didn't. And that's why when I came in 2 years ago, I tried a different approach on it. And I said, try it. Take these little tidbits, little skills and little bit of knowledge that we give you and put it in your toolbox. So that when you come across a situation and you feel like you don't know what to do, I'm hoping that happens. And we actually have been, we have really, I feel like we're over the hill. We're really making a change there. I feel like the majority of our staff is very invested in doing it because they can see how beneficial it can be.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I don't see any more questions coming through. So Natalie, I'm going to ask you to go to the next slide, if you don't mind. You may have questions about who to contact about our program to try to maybe have a conversation with Linda, whatever it may be. If you're looking for Chelsea Retirement Community, you can contact Nicole or Julian. If you're looking at Porter Hills Village, you can contact Riley or Joy. It's funny, it's going back and forth. I know their names, I talk to them on a regular basis, but when they go away, I go, who is it? So these are the phone numbers and the emails and whatever it may be. If you have any issues, any concerns, any questions, please feel free to reach out to these folks. They are experts at meeting with people and figuring out about how to work with your loved one or whoever it may be. And this is their job. They do this all day and we're here to help. I can promise you as the leader of the sales and marketing team, it is never a sales pitch. In our hearts, we work for not-for-profit organizations. We work with seniors. We work with people that need help. And we are very happy to help in any way, shape, or form. So, Linda, thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate your time. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed the presentation as much as I did. Linda, you are a fantastic speaker, and you can tell that you have a lot of passion for this. And I love that you continue your education about this topic. And so, thank you very much for everything that you do. You truly are a blessing to us. Thank you, everyone. I hope everybody has a great day.